Hey kids, it's John, it's Matt, and we're the press box sitting together. This is a first, Matt. We're breaking new ground here at the Golden Knights game. Unfortunately, let's flip it around. Hey, you see that scoreboard right in the middle there? Maybe you can. If you can't see it, it's 3-1 for the other team. Golden Knights down. They dominate the first 10 minutes of this one, Matt. They're up 1-0. They get the first goal of the game. And then all of a sudden, 3 goals in 5 minutes from the Florida Panthers. It looks like Vegas just fell asleep at the wheel here. And who knows? Oh, and Ron's chiming in already. Ron knows when we... Do you have alerts, Ron? I think you have alerts when we come on live. All right, so Golden Knights down 3-1. Matt, what's going on?
Stay out of the box, man. This team has really struggled to stay out of the penalty box in the last several weeks. Since this losing streak started, it seems like they're in the box 5 times a game, and that's what's killing them tonight. Florida, one of the top, I think, 3 or 4 teams in the league on the power play, and just dominating early the first 10 minutes. Golden Knights dominating everything. They were all over the puck. I tweeted out it looked like they were going to score 6 tonight. I mean, they looked fantastic in the first 10 minutes, scored in the first 3 minutes, and then penalties, man. They started taking penalties, and Mike Hoffman apparently is going to score if they're on the power play. He has 2 goals, both on the power play, and both came immediately. I think Florida's been on the power play for what? 7 seconds total? 7 seconds. They've got 2 goals. Just bad all around. They got really lazy, really sloppy through the neutral zone. Weren't taking care of the puck. Really bad turnover by Nate Schmidt that led to the first goal. The hooking on Carpenter that led to that first power play goal. So just a very uneven first period, and unfortunately for the Knights, their unevenness led to 3 goals from the other side.
I wonder if it's Ron. Is that your brother, Ron, Mike Hoffman? Maybe it's right. He was going for a first period hat trick. So Golden Knights again, early goal. Paul Stastny scores his 8th of the season. But that second line, let's touch on this, Matt, because I think for the rest of the way here, again, Golden Knights strike first here. That second line clearly will be the best line on this team. First line's been consistent all year. Third line's been consistent all year. Fourth line is consistent, but not a goal-scoring unit. The second line for the foreseeable future, I say the rest of the season, regular season into the playoffs, it will be the best line that the Golden Knights have.
It is the best line. You look at the talent on that line. Paul Stastny's one of the top centers in the league as far as taking care of the puck and making plays for other guys. And then you have 2 20-goal-a-season at least scorers in Pacioretty and Mark Stone. Mark Stone comes to Vegas with 28 goals on the season, 64 points, so you know what he can bring to the table, and now you put him in an offense that likes to get up and down the ice. Ottawa and him and Gallant have both talked about it in the last couple of days. Ottawa's a very different style offense. It's a little more plodding, a little slower. The Golden Knights offense, you get after it. You know, the transition game up and down the ice. So I think that's going to help him out a lot. And you can already see how well that second line is playing. The top line needs to start hitting the back of the net. Marchessault, Smith, Carlson, they just haven't been scoring enough. They've been together the majority of the season. There's been a couple of changes here and there on a game or 2 throughout the year, but they've got to get consistent offensive production. The third line, Tuck, where you been? Alex Tuck has been relatively invisible for the last few weeks. You said for all of February. That might be accurate. He hasn't done a whole lot of anything. It
is. I get something right every once in a while. He's got 2 points in the month of February.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he had that streak where he had a point in how many games in a row. I don't think he's done much since then. So you have to start getting something out of him. Now down there with Eakin and Carpenter, maybe Peary, maybe Nosek. We'll see who's on that other side the majority of the time. Feels like it's going to be Carpenter, but we'll see.
You guys, thanks for commenting here. Kristen, spot on, shuffle up. And then Ron beat me to the punch here. We'll talk about Subban first, then we'll talk about, I think Alex Tuck needs to be on the top line and Riley Smith needs to be on the third line. We'll get to that. But I feel horrible for Malcolm Subban because this friggin' guy can't get, I'm like going to swear about it, he can't get a break, Matt. He looks fine in net, but you can't stop power play goals. The third one was a good goal. I mean, that was just an angle that was a little tough for him. The guy cannot win a hockey game because his defense is not playing in front of him. And it's horrible for Marc-Andre Fleury because the best thing to happen right now is for this team to win with Malcolm Subban in net to get him some more starts so that Marc-Andre can get a little bit more extended rest here before the playoff push begins.
Yeah, Subban needs to make a couple of those saves. I get it. The defense hasn't done him any favors, and when you're on the penalty against a great power play team, you're left hung out to dry. But again, 7 seconds. I mean, Nobody's doing anything to even stop them a little bit. I mean, you have to win draws and you have to get the puck out of the zone, and they're basically asleep on their heels as soon as they lose the draw and the goals are going into the net. So Subban does need to play better. The defense needs to play better all around. But I disagree with the shuffling of the lines. I don't think you touch that top line because what has Tuck done? Tuck doesn't have the chemistry with the top line that Riley Smith does. I don't know that switching those up does any good. Plus, I think you weaken the third line there because I think Tuck can be a better offensive force on that third line than what Riley Smith can do. So I think it's more of a balanced attack right now with Smith on that top line, Tuck on the third line, assuming Tuck can get going.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I think they move Tuck to the top line and just have a powerhouse top six, right? Rely on the top six, and you know that fourth line is going to get minutes. The third line should be the least played line on this team, at least right now, unless Brandon Peary gets going, which Peary not in the lineup. And I get it. Peary needs to score to play, but he needs to play to score. So this is Ryan Carpenter's second game back. And Matt and I were discussing this too. Would love your thoughts. Matt's of the thought that Carpenter has the all-around game here. I don't think he does. He only has two goals this season, I think is what it is. Maybe one of those was an empty net or a garbage time goal. I just don't think he's the goal scorer that you need on the third line. And Peary has not been a defensive liability this season.
He's not a great offensive player at all. I think we all know that. I think his puck control is a lot better than Peary's. I think he is a better defender than what Peary is. And I think he fits into the flow of what they're trying to do on that line better than what Peary does overall. That's not to say that Peary's not a weapon. If you can get him in there, maybe sit him a couple of games and bring him back in and catch fire like you did earlier in the season, and that's just going to light a fire under everybody on this team if he can get going again as far as the goals go. But that's the problem with that third line is you don't know who's going to be there. Again, whether it's Carpenter, Nosek, or Peary, you don't know who's going to be there. I mean, we keep seeing it's not Subban's fault, it's not Subban's fault. Man, you got to make saves. I mean, everybody wants to jump on Fleury anytime he lets anybody on, but that guy stands on his head half the time. We have to see more of that from Subban. I understand guys are letting him hang out to dry a lot of times, but he does have to make some of these saves and really just put a shot into the arm of everybody on his defense and go, look, man, I can bail you out, but you guys need to play better, and maybe they will.
Yeah, I mean, okay, sure, he makes that save to prevent it from going 3-1, but 2-1 still, I don't necessarily, I don't put those two goals squarely on him on the power play. I mean, you're talking about a man advantage for Florida, and Hoffman, again, snipes 2 shots in to beat them up. So, again, 3-1 here. The Golden Knights have 2 wins, 6 losses, and a draw in their last, 9 games at home. They have 2 wins in the last 9 at home. This is not how you get on a roll. Clearly, if you're watching here during the intermission, you know this is not how you get on a roll. Again, 3 goals in the span of 5.5 minutes. Golden Knights in a pretty big hole here, which is, it's unfortunate. I wonder what the in-play wagering here is on William Hill. You got a feeling this second period has been hit and miss, but the Golden Knights do, when they need it, at least in spurts, they'll come out on fire in the second period, and hopefully the second period is one of those things. I would think the Turk is just going to lay into him. Need a dumpster fire emoji.
Power play, not Soup's fault. Stop being a homer. I don't know how I'm being a homer. I'm blaming defense and Subban for allowing goals. That's not a homer call. That's just the reality of the situation. I understand it's a man advantage. Those 2 shots came literally half a second into the power play. That wasn't an odd man situation where you've just got guys getting lost in transition. You got a guy sitting on the point by himself. You got a guy in the slot by himself. That's off the draw, 1 pass in. You got to be better than that, man. You have to do a better job winning those draws. You have to do a better job, and you've got to get around screens and see the puck. You have to make saves. That's the bottom line. And I'm sorry, Fleury hasn't done it lately either. Fleury's been giving up goals left and right. He's given up 2 or 3 goals in every single start for the last 6 weeks. So it's a team effort, and defensively, Subban included, nobody's doing their job right now.
Phil Muller, am I saying it right, Phil? From the Golden Knights Click, representing. Thanks for chiming in. So he thinks that Smith should play on the second line and then move Mark Stone up to the first line. I like that too. I think you got to move. The first line's been too inconsistent. I think you got to change something there, okay, and maybe Stone's the guy that you bring up there because he's clearly a first line talent.
Here's the problem with that though. That second line is your first line talent line. Talent for talent. That second line is your best line. Why would you break that up? That's where your best line is. That's where your most consistent players should be. Keep that line strong. If you break that line up and you move Smith to the second line is now weaker. The first line is now weaker because they're not used to playing together. They have the chemistry. You saw what they could do last year together. Keep that line together and keep that second line stronger than it's ever been.
Well, here's what we can't agree on. This team needs to play better at home. I think there's 8 or 9 more home games in the regular season. They're not playing well at home. This is a team that has been wildly successful at home since its existence, and they're not doing it right now. So that doesn't bode well for the postseason, clearly. I don't think this team has played well enough on the road that you could be like, okay, yeah, they'll be fine if they have a disadvantage as far as not home ice advantage at any point during the playoffs. Sure, but maybe spread the wealth. Phil's saying.
I think that's what they did. I think by putting Stone on that line and dropping Tuck to the third line, I think you have a more balanced attack in your top 9. But again, Tuck has to start scoring. Somebody on that third line has to start scoring, and the first line just needs to get back to playing consistent hockey, and they're just not doing it right now.
Tiffany coming in with the fire takes. Get Merrill off the ice. Merrill with that high stick. And I will point this out. Brad Hunt would have scored that goal. Merrill had a shot there towards the end of the first period. I think Brad Hunt would have scored. This team is terrible without Brad Hunt on it, by the way. They've been struggling, and they've been really bad since Brad Hunt has left. Coincidence? Not sure. Really quick before we get out of here. Bryce Harper, 13 years, $330 million. Flyer fans will hate him, though, and I put that in the post here. Flyer fans are going to hate him because he is a Golden Knights fan. He was on the Jumbotron this morning.
They're one and the same, aren't they?
We
Flyers and Phillies fans, I mean.
Well, no, the Phillies
parking lot.
But the Phillies fans will love him. The Flyers fans will hate. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It'll be a love-hate relationship. It's not going to last 13 years. I know that. Flipping around, guys coming back out onto the ice. That's not going to be a 13-year relationship. I think there's a lot of marriages that go a lot better, and I think that some of that $330 million definitely needs to be spent on counseling, because that's a marriage that's going to go bad. Any final thoughts before we stop this?
Stay out of the box, guys. They've got to come out on fire like they did in the first 10 minutes of this game. Stop taking stupid penalties. Really get after Florida, and hopefully they can get at least one in this period and bring it to a 1-goal, if not tie game, heading into the third.
Yep, need a goal. Got to gain a little bit of ground here in this period, and hopefully the Knights do. Thanks for hopping on, everybody. Enjoy the second period, and let's see if the Knights climb back into this one.